What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is damn good to be back. Welcome back to Geeks Got Game, the Geekiverse's all video game talk show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on the various podcast services that it is on, I'm Josiah Leroy. I've got our beautiful crew of geeks here. Baba Yaga himself, Mr. Disruptoid, John Fick. How are you? I haven't talked to you like face to face like this, virtually in a few weeks.
It's been a bit.
It's been forever.
We were planning on doing a G3 last week without you, but then I also happened to go on vacation as well, so it didn't happen. But I was totally set to open up the show that "Welcome to Geeks Got Game, Josiah Leroy is dead," and I was totally gonna open it that way, and then just not even mention it again. But we didn't get to do that, unfortunately. So.
Oh, I'm so sad. I wish that would have happened. Oh my gosh, that is a missed opportunity. You know what? It'll happen again though. There'll be an opportunity for you to do that.
No, to show my hand.
Hopefully, where I'm not actually dead. But
right, who knows?
So, Mr. Jeff Pavlok, Jeff, I was just saying pre-show. This is the longest I've ever gone. We've gone in our 15 years of friendship without having seen each other in person.
Yeah, man. Since freshman year of high school, we've known each other, and we've never gone 4 or 5 months without seeing each other in person like this. This is weird.
It is weird. Thank goodness we at least have these podcasts to keep us going like this.
Blessed be the Discord.
That's right. The Platinum King, Rashawn Anderson, with the wonderful sidekick Baby Yoda right there. Rashawn, what's going on?
We are here. I was going to say I am here, but we are here together. Me and Baby. He's still in his box, but,
Good. That's where he should be. That's how you preserve him.
This is the way. Oh, there we go. There's Baby Yoda very close at hand. What is that?
This guy probably opens his amiibos up,
Does that say I am Groot?
like a cretin. Like a cretin.
We've had conversations. I open the cool ones. I don't know. I have a whole wall of boxed Funkos back there, but I have like a bunch of just really cool ones that I unbox as well. Just however I'm feeling.
No.
So, John, glass to mouth, right? We like their beer glasses.
Here's one.
So, there's one right there. We got the
151.
Is it Animal Crossing?
No, it's all 151 Pokemon.
Got it. I see it now.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
So I had what I thought was a brilliant idea, and I'm sure other people have done it. I emailed them, and I said, you need to make a glass. I said, by the way, big fan. I've purchased a few with my friends here. Anyway, you should make a glass and call it Baby Yoda meeting Baby Groot. Because I would buy that in a heartbeat, and it would be I think a bestseller. What do I know, right? But I would get it at least selfishly. So they emailed back and said we're absolutely doing that.
That's awesome.
So when you see it on social media, you have to thank Uncle Joe here. All right.
I have a friend who I have a friend named Matt who went viral on Twitter. It was like the week that the first episode of Mandalorian came out, and he tweeted out, I would use Baby Groot as firewood to keep Baby Yoda warm. My buddy Matt Rohrback, and he went literally viral, like I think he's up to like millions of retweets and likes on that tweet. He absolutely blew up for that. So shout out to Matt Rohrback. He made it big with that one.
Oh, I retweeted that for sure. Yeah. And I don't know who that is. So that was amazing.
He's good people.
So our first segment here, as we want to start out every show, what's in your system? I know it's been a nice last few weeks for some of us here. Later on this week, we've got some nice releases coming out in the form of Ghost of Tsushima and a brand new Paper Mario. But John, what since you've finished The Last of Us Part 2, what's been in your system, if anything at all?
Not too much. I was dabbling a little bit in Pokemon Shield is the one that I have. I kind of just wanted to get a feel for the game again before I bought the expansion, the Armor of Isle, and eventually the Crown Tundra. Just kind of want to get a feel for it.
Isle of Armor.
Is that not what I said? What did I say?
No, you said Armor of Isle.
Oh, those words are different. I kind of just want to see what my party was all about and just do some exploring of the wildland and stuff like that. I actually never did any of the giant raids back when I first played the game. What are those called? Or are they just called raids?
Max raids.
Max raids, yeah. So I've been messing with those for a little bit. Haven't put too much time in there. I did pick up the new season of Fortnite. I was playing a little bit of that with my nephew the last couple of days. That's been just... I actually haven't bought the Battle Pass yet. I haven't decided if I'm actually going to play this season or not. This will be the first season since the Battle Pass has existed that I haven't bought one if I don't do it. So we'll see, but just a few matches here and there. And I've been addicted to this stupid mobile game called Trivia Royale. Are any of you guys familiar with it? It's sort of blowing up.
Oh no!
Any of you
dumping
guys?
money in the mobile
I
games.
did buy the ad-free version. I did pay $3 to get rid of the ads because I was sick of the ads. But I mean, I've already played the game for like 12 hours. It's like $3. Have any of you guys played in the past Quiz Up? It was an old like quiz. You're familiar, Jeff?
I remember that.
They literally just stole Quiz Up. They stole the game Quiz Up. It is this. It's this. Well, I mean, it was kind of a unique thing. It was 1 versus 1. Whoever answers quicker gets more points, and it's 5 rounds. It's literally the same game beat for beat. But what they did was they added a battle royale feature. So you are in a pool of like roughly 1,000 players, and you get matched up with somebody, and you get 5 rounds of just random trivia. And if you beat them, you go to the next round. So it's super addicting. It's super addicting to see how far you can get. My best right now, I got to 13 yesterday. 13 of 1,010 is my best trivia royale. I mean, it's a well-made game if that wants to focus. Like it's like emoji based, so like you have your own emoji, and it even does like facial tracking of your emoji. So like if you turn that feature on, like your camera, like your eyes are moving while you're playing the game and stuff like that. A couple of cool things like that. But again, they just straight up stole the gameplay from Quiz Up, which is, a little shady. That's it.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Man, if John got 13th, man, that must have been a pretty weak lobby, man.
Yikes, Rashawn. Yikes.
I can tell how this show's gonna go. It's all right. We've missed a few weeks. Jeff, what have you been playing there?
I got 2 things actually. The first is this Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. This was actually a game that came out last year, last July. I did not get a chance to play it at the time though because it landed smack dab in the middle of Super Mario Maker 2 and Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which were 2 games that I spent a lot of my summer with. So I just never got around to playing this last year. It's made by Koji Igarashi, who was the longtime director of the Castlevania franchise when he worked with Konami. When he left Konami, he started this little pet project of his own. He actually funded it all through Kickstarter. Started it up a few years ago. It was originally supposed to be on the Wii U. That's how long ago he started this. It was going to release at a time when there was still hope that the Wii U would be relevant. So that tells you how long he kind of worked on it. It came out last summer then, and it's really fun, especially because Castlevania doesn't really exist anymore. Just like just about all of Konami's franchises, Castlevania is pretty much dead and buried. So to have a Metroidvania style game where you explore a big castle, collect all kinds of weapons and demonic powers, fight bosses, go through all kinds of different action sequences, it's really fun to still have that type of game. And it's really neat that he did it all through Kickstarter. He didn't get a traditional publisher for it. And he even got some fairly high profile voice actors for it too. David Hayter is in there. For those who may not know, David Hayter is the voice of Solid Snake for the longest time. So we got him to voice a character in there, which is really neat. And if you like any of the Castlevania style games, I definitely recommend that. The other game I've been playing needs no introduction. So
Yep.
yeah.
So for the listeners, Pavlok, what were you just showing the camera? So for the listeners...
Oh, I forgot about that. Completely forgot. We also have an audio podcast in addition to the video of this. This is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time from N64. This is actually my original copy of it with the cardboard box and everything. I got the cartridge in there and all. Even the game manual, which is so cool to look at from time to time, just because game manuals back then were wildly different from what they are now. They were basically like mini game guides back in the day. So much official artwork in there that you don't see anymore in game guides. But I am turning 30 in a week, and just for some personal reasons, that's a very big birthday for me, just where I want to be in life and some personal goals of mine. So I really wanted to replay Ocarina of Time one more time. It's my favorite game ever. I think this was like the 7th or 8th time that I've played it through. Just for nostalgia's sake, just for memory's sake, I really wanted to play it one more time. On this run, I did what's called the 3 Heart Challenge, which is a very popular challenge in the Zelda community where you don't pick up any heart containers. You play the game with your starting 3 hearts, and that's it. You don't pick up any of the hearts from the bosses you beat, any of the side quests that you do. And it was actually the very first time I've ever done a 3 Heart Challenge. So I said if there was ever a Zelda game that I would do it for, it would definitely be this one.
John, we did the 3 Heart Challenge for Jedi Fallen Order.
Don't you go there.
Yeah, basically.
Jeff, that's kind of amazing that you bring that up. So Lauren and I have been kind of shuffling through the basement as we have here and there over the last few months, just trying to tidying things up, donating things that we're not using, things of that nature. One thing we are not donating, we did find a bin. We've got tons of game stuff all over the basement, but a bin of her and her brother's N64 games that have kind of now come to us. There's a handful in there. Two very notable ones that I had no idea we had. One of which is Ocarina of Time. Sure enough, I was like, I didn't know we had this. That's amazing.
Wow.
And then we also have Resident Evil 2.
Yes,
So,
that was on N64, amazingly enough.
Couldn't believe it as I'm looking through, and I was like, oh my gosh. It's just, yeah. So kind of funny that you bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
Rashawn, what have you been playing here as we're just a few days out before Tsushima comes here?
Nothing much since I beat The Last of Us Part 2 about a week ago. That was definitely my main focus. I wanted to get that done and out of the way so we could be ready for Ghost of Tsushima coming out this week. So that was pretty much it. I've been taking kind of a break because coming at the time of this recording, coming this Friday, we have two big ones. Mainly Ghost of Tsushima for me, but definitely looking forward to Paper Mario as well. So nothing in my system right this second, but that is what will be in my system in the coming days.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've been slowly building excitement for that game, especially.
I'm getting more and more excited with each. Like, I don't know what happened. Like maybe a week and a half ago, like around when I really started digging into The Last of Us, like for sure, because I was dabbling, bits and pieces until I really went for it. I'm getting more and more excited for Ghost of Tsushima literally every day.
Me too.
I had rewatched whatever the most recent presentation was where they showed off a lot of the customization features of the game and whatnot.
Yep.
And ever since I rewatched that, like it clicked with me the first time, but something just really clicked recently. Maybe because I knew the game was still months away and quarantine and all that stuff. But now that we're literally like the week of, or at the, a week and a half away at the time that I really got excited. Whew, I'm ready.
I got a question for you guys.
I'm very excited.
You guys are both playing it at launch, right? The three of us, Jeff. You don't have the PS4, so that you won't be doing that.
I'm going to find a way to play that game
really?
as soon as possible, man. I'm so excited for that game.
He said that, yeah.
Super cool. Okay.
I'm psyched for that game.
Do you guys plan on playing it in English or in Japanese with subtitles?
Japanese for me.
Yep.
I think
Japanese,
so too.
if I have the choice when I play.
I'm
going to play in English.
Are you just that? Okay. I think I'm going to go Japanese. Anybody doing black and white?
I'm not. If I play it a second time, I will. But for normal purposes, I want to do.
I want to see all the colors that they've showed off.
I know.
I love the idea. I love the idea, and I love the idea that you can play in various means, whether it's subtitles or audio in Japanese. I'd love to do that, but on this first playthrough, I have to play in standard. I want to play English, but I really, really want to play in color because
it's too beautiful to not play in color the first time.
It's such a cool
experience, everything.
But it feels like a waste. Like it really does feel like a waste of all that awesome like the art and design. And again, I know it'll come through in a very different way in the black and white version, but I hope it's as easy as like the Halo collections where you can literally just flip it with a button from black and white. So like I hope I can.
I would assume
so.
Yeah,
I like that
because I can see myself looking over like a Vista and just like, all right, cool, there's no one around me, I want to see what this looks like in black and white, and maybe in just like, all right, go do a quick encounter or a quick side quest in black and white. Like I can see myself flipping that around if that's possible.
I talk about
black and white for a boss fight.
Yep.
And do the rest, here and stuff like that. Yep.
Even just for photo mode, like I'd love to see the different variations of that.
Yeah, for me, I know I'm getting that right at midnight. I'm obviously I'm getting it. I mean, I pre-ordered it digitally, but playing right at midnight, like I'm just gonna get right to it.
I said it on Twitter. That game that looks like a video game that Akira Kurosawa would make if he were a video game designer. If you took Akira Kurosawa's directing style for movies and made a video game, that's basically what Ghost of Tsushima is. So I cannot wait for that game. It looks amazing.
As I've talked about with other games like Uncharted and even most recently with Last of Us, where I like personally just have that right thumbstick and I just pan around and stand still and look at the environment. Like I appreciate the art, all the time that's gone into it over these last, going on 6 or 7 years for Last of Us. That's what I want to do with this game. Like, I want to look at all the island is beautiful from everything we've seen in previews, whether it's night or day, and we've got the different weather that can occur. That's one that was so breathtaking to me. I cannot wait to dive into it. And honestly, to see all the screenshots and clips that fans are going to come up with that are just, we think this game is going to be about 40 to 50 hours roughly. There's a lot of room in there.
I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting for length. Maybe 20 to 30. Then I saw 40 to 50. I'm like, whoa!
I mean, you got to think.
I'm sure it's shorter. I'm sure it's shorter if you just do the story. I'm sure that is basing it off of if you do a mild amount of song content. I would assume if it's just story, 40 to 50 hours. Whew,
I can see it because Assassin's Creed Odyssey pretty much really without doing side missions was about that. Well, I mean, you had to do a little here and there, but not a lot.
Also, there was the report, I forgot from where or from whom, but also that will add to what you're saying, that the story can be this long. Because again, I'm sure no matter how much you just want to do this, right, there's going to be some gamers out there that do at least a couple side missions out there, right? Apparently the side quests are as robust, or at least on the same level as something like The Witcher 3. And for people that actually fully played and finished The Witcher 3, if that is true, man, yeah, I see where that number comes from. If that's only factoring in maybe only a few side missions or maybe only half of them, but if the game's 40 to 50 hours long and then you do everything and they're that robust, like those side missions where branching pathways, multiple choices, that's going to be insane. You could be looking up upwards of like 70 hours if that's the case.
I totally buy that. They've been working on this game for a while, so you'll definitely get your money's worth. And the review scores have been pouring in, and it's doing well. It's doing very well. So I would get your hands on that if you had any inkling or interest in it whatsoever. So just kind of wrapping up what's in your system, I am not done with The Last of Us Part 2. I knew I was going to be the last one to kind of get there. The Last of Us, if you will, in the Geekiverse. I was gone for the last 2 weeks. I did take my PS4 with me. As I mentioned pre-show, I had just kind of like the perfect storm one day. Daisy was down. It couldn't be outside. And I played about 2.5 hours. I brought a little TV with. So I've played a little since I got back. I'm maybe 15 and a half hours in. So the last third of the game here, I'm transitioning into that. Of course, I'm loving life. We've covered what we've thought of the game in pretty good detail so far. What I've been playing otherwise, so if I've got a few minutes here or there, is actually revisiting the Insane Trilogy, Crash Bandicoot on Switch. I got it last summer at a pretty cheap deal. I think Best Buy was having a sale, so I've been running through the original Crash Bandicoot, and that is a perfect kind of game to play when you got a few minutes here and there. Plus, I've been super excited ever since Crash Bandicoot 4 was confirmed. So that's what has been in my system. And this Friday, it will be Ghost. Pavlak, you are going to be playing Paper Mario.
Yep.
So for someone such as myself, who's never played Paper Mario in any way, shape, or form, give me the elevator speech on why you're excited for it.
Well, it's tough because Paper Mario has had a little bit of a turbulent history since the Thousand Year Door came out on GameCube, which I believe was now 2002. It came out. The series definitely changed from the original design, which was a turn-based RPG with like traditional XP leveling up. You had a partner that you battled with. On the Wii, there was Super Paper Mario, which was not an RPG at all. It was more of a 2D platformer and action style game. And then when the next Paper Mario came out, which was Sticker Star on the 3DS, that one's kind of infamous for really scaling back the RPG elements, even while still trying to be an RPG. There wasn't an open world. It was like stage-based, kind of like how a 2D platformer Mario was. You couldn't have anybody in your party. You didn't have level progression like you did in normal RPG. And then Color Splash was a similar type of experience on Wii U, although that came out literally at the tail end of the Wii U, so basically nobody played it. So the Paper Mario fan base is a little bit conflicted from over the years because they love the original two games. I do too. The original Paper Mario from N64 is one of my all-time favorite games. I still like Super Paper Mario from the Wii. I'm not so hot on Sticker Star or Color Splash. However, I do think that Origami King is looking to kind of make those steps back toward that traditional RPG experience. You can have partners from time to time in battle. We're seeing a lot of huge environments. They've talked about everything being interconnected, so it's not stage-based or chapter-based this time. There's even talks of it being non-linear to some extent, that you can do like some of the sequences and storyline missions out of order, which would be unprecedented for Paper Mario to begin with. So that'd be a really cool change. But regardless of what Paper Mario is like from a game design standpoint, whether it's Sticker Star or the original games that are more beloved, they always have amazing writing. They have some of the best scripts that Nintendo has ever put into a game. The amount of comedy in there is overwhelming. There's just so many great meta humor, jokes, and pop culture references, especially ones that would go over a little kid's head. You know, Paper Mario is known as being family friendly, people associate it as being for younger audiences. There's so many jokes and so much great writing in there that is clearly aimed at adults and people who have been playing games their whole lives. So if you like Mario at all, if you've ever enjoyed a Mario game and you're looking for a story that's going to make you laugh, any Paper Mario game is definitely the one for you. And I think Origami King is going to be a great step toward that higher quality Paper Mario experience that we remember from the past.
I think I was watching a little bit of the Treehouse that Nintendo had the other day for this, and I didn't get to finish it, but it looked interesting. So it's funny. It's a game that I think I'll get to eventually, but with Ghost coming out now, that's where my priority is going to be, unfortunately.
It's a great day for video games that day.
It really is. We're going to move on here. So we always talk about at least once a month honoring the past. We go back 10 years in gaming to this month. So in this case, we're going to July 2000 and July 2010. We looked at the list. There were only 3 game releases that came out in the month of July 2000. So nothing terribly notable there. If we fast forward to 10 years ago in 2010, there are a few notable releases. Nothing like we've seen in the last few years. But on July 6th, we had 2 of them. We had Persona 3 on PSP and Crackdown 2 on the Xbox 360. Both obviously, pretty well-renowned games. July 21st, this is a pretty big one. Could have slipped under the radar, but Limbo on the Xbox Live Arcade. Back in the day when we had the XBLA. That is a game that really brought that, for lack of a better term, maybe smaller scale titles to the forefront, especially in an age where everything was getting bigger and games had to be AAA and they had to be budgets through the roof. You had a game like Limbo, which was small, atmospheric, and as we look back 10 years ago, incredibly impactful. Limbo is one of my favorite games of that generation, and I played it again on this current generation on Xbox One. There it stemmed on the XBLA, but you can get it on anything, like just about anything these days, except for your Echo. But it is on iOS. It's on most mobile gaming platforms. It is a game that I recommend everybody take just a few hours and go through. It definitely has inspired quite a bit. I have nothing but fun things to say about it. Despite it being such a short game, I could talk about it all night. It's it was a good one. Looking at the list here, anything else catch your guys' eye, or any comments for Limbo, Persona 3, or Crackdown that you wanted to mention and chime in?
I just wanted to say...
do you remember...
Go ahead, John.
Oh, go ahead, John. Sorry.
This is quick.
No, you first.
Just right off what Josiah said. Huge shout out to Xbox Live Arcade for really bringing smaller indie games to console. That was not a thing until Xbox Live Arcade. They really championed that, and Limbo is the flagship title for that. Before Xbox Live Arcade, if you were to say, "Oh, this is a downloadable game," that was a bad word. That downloadable games were shovelware. That's what we used to think of, because there were games on the Xbox Live store before Xbox Live Arcade was a thing, but they were trash. They were little $15 experiences, and they were just not great. So Xbox Live Arcade, I think, is really responsible for the birth of indies on console gaming. Obviously, it's been a thing on PC forever, but now it's such a huge part of the way I play games. My Switch is my indie machine, and that's I don't know, I would say 60% of my gaming nowadays is little indies like that. So shout out to you.
Yeah, well said. Jeff, what were you going to say?
I just remember from July 2010, Dragon Quest IX came out on the DS, which was a big deal because that was the mainline Dragon Quest game going to handhelds instead of coming out on PlayStation 3 or Xbox or Wii. Square Enix opted to go for the DS, which was selling like crazy back in the day, especially in Japan. So they took one of their biggest properties and put a flagship title on a handheld rather than the home consoles.
Yeah, it's that's saying a lot, especially for such a big franchise like that. I had another thought on Limbo. I'm going to circle back to that. Rashawn, anything to say on these at all before we move on?
Nothing for me. Persona 3 definitely is a bucket list game for me, for obvious reasons.
I was going to say, I assumed you'd have a comment for it, for sure.
It's brutal because I cannot, in my right mind, call myself a Persona fan. I strictly say I am a Persona 5 fan, ride or die, but I cannot say I'm a Persona fan. That was my first one. I haven't played 4 yet. Even though I don't need that. I got 4 on Steam. Or are you talking about for 3?
For both. I mean, it has both on there. But I know that.
Yeah.
I know Persona 4 is on Steam now. Look at that.
Is that the Vita in the background, Josiah?
That's it right there. Yep.
I have another one.
John's got
I
him.
don't feel like getting up. This is my second Vita.
I mean, Persona 4 Golden's on Steam now, and I bought it, and it's ready to go. The issue is I knew there was no point in starting it with Ghost and all the stuff coming out. So it'll be played by the end of this year. It's just, again, finding another time to sink in another 100 hours into a JRPG. And then hopefully by the time I finish that game, whenever that'll be, Persona 3 will be remastered somewhere. Hopefully. I'm not holding my breath, though.
Yeah.
Another 100 hours, he says. All right, let's get on to the news here. We're going to cover just a few things on this episode. First off, recently, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I know I missed a lot while I was out here, but in the talking about a hot topic of pricing for games for next generation, we've got the Series X, we've got the PS5 right around the corner. Was it NBA?
So it's NBA 2K21. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we saw that price point. It looks like, at least there's the possibility that games will cost, instead of your traditional $60, $70 from a retail standpoint for your full-fledged releases. Games historically have never been cheaper if you include inflation and take into the cost of production and budgets and so on and so forth. From last generation to when you go from 360 to the Xbox One, the PS3 to the PS4, game prices did not increase. They were both at the $60 price point. Whereas when you were looking at the PS2, majority of games were $50. So that being said, even Sean Layton talked about this before this leak, where he said that AAA game budgets, he doesn't see them existing into the future here. This might help offset that cost a little bit. So my question is, for $70, does that much affect how you think you are going to game, your gaming habits, how you purchase games as we move into the next generation? And is it really a big deal? John, why don't we start with you? Yeah.
No, it's not going to affect the amount of games I buy. A $10 difference, to me at least, is not a big deal. I can't see how that would. If I'm willing to pay full price for a game, that means I'm buying it right when it comes out, which means I'm excited about that game. I can't see how $10 more would put me over the edge. I pay more for games right now just because I want the Steelbook, which is literally nothing. I bought Ghost of Tsushima and I was gonna buy digitally just for convenience, but then I saw that Steelbook and I spent $80 on it. So, I don't know, man. If it's worth 60, it's worth 70. And you mentioned that we've gone through 2 console generations. We've gone through 15 years without inflation hitting our games. It's insane. Find another industry where a product hasn't changed in price. And guess what? The reason that we have microtransactions and all these predatory business models in games is because they haven't adjusted for inflation. Games have gotten nothing but more expensive, and they've stayed the same price-wise. There's been countless stories over the last couple of years, the last decade and a half, of games that sold pretty well that were deemed a failure. If you look at the first of the Tomb Raider reboot, I think it was just called Tomb Raider, right? Whatever year that came out.
Yeah.
That game sold millions and was considered a failure by Square. There's rumors that the sequel, Rise of the Tomb Raider, wasn't going to be greenlit until Xbox came in with that 1-year exclusivity deal. So Xbox poured money on them, and that game had to be exclusive to Xbox for a whole year. That's not good for anybody, right? It's good for the fact that the game got made. That's awesome, and it probably wouldn't have without that. But we had to deal with that not horrible, but that predatory business practice, because that game, even though it sold well, didn't make its money back. So if you're telling me games are going to be $70 and that might mean that a studio gets to greenlight their next game or that they don't have to lay off as many artists in between games and stuff like that, I'm all in. I feel like I feel like it's a non-story in my eyes. Like, obviously, this is going to have to happen eventually.
And that danger of a game selling what you would think was very well, but still being considered a commercial flop, that's been around since the dawn of HD gaming. That's not necessarily recent. That's been around for a while. The one I always think of is the original Bayonetta, which is 8 or 9 years old now. That sold 2 million copies between Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Sega did not want Bayonetta 2 after that. They did not feel that 2 million copies would warrant them publishing Bayonetta 2, which was why eventually Nintendo picked it up. I mean, if a game sells 2 million copies and that's not enough for you, especially a little bit more niche title like Bayonetta, obviously budgets have just gone astronomical. Another one was Dead Space 3. I think EA had said beforehand that it needed to sell 5 million or something like that to be considered profitable. You can't expect most games to sell 5 million copies. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing is a lot of times games and studios were pricing themselves out because you can't sell, it's taboo. You can't sell a game for $70 when everyone else is selling it for 60. And I think in my mind, if this, for me, non-starter, like $70, that's fine. Like John, if I'm buying a game day one, I'm all in on it. I've saved up my money. That's what I'm in for. That being said, you always know sales are going to come around later. So that does give them the publishers the opportunity to really lay into nice sales, whether it's a holiday sale or a summer sale, because they've made more money at release, which is where, really, I would say majority of these games make their money. So if I can buy a $70 game and that's going to support my favorite developer or even publisher, and it's going to help prolong gaming as an art form and really continue to just bring it to the next level, sign me up. It's a small thing to do. Rashad, your overall thoughts on the thought of the $70 price point?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do get both sides. I think when I first saw this, there was a jolt of anger in me, only because, of course, it had to be 2K showing NBA being to like they had to be the one to roll this out. Like it was like all the developers drew straws, and they, of course, drew the shortest one. What do you know? But when I get past all that and I think about the crux of this, I get it. Like, it's one of those things where I expected to come on here, stomp my feet and, do all these things. But when you really think about it, gaming is the most it probably is the most entertaining thing out there, but
no, absolutely.
It is the most profitable entertainment medium, out there. It's become bigger than movies overall. It's become bigger than music. You name it. And when you factor in the business aspect, just the sheer fact that, like John said, 15 years, we haven't had a spike in pricing of the base price of games in 15 years. So when you think about that, you look at movie tickets. Your movie tickets have gone up in 15 years. The amount that you pay for your DVDs or Blu-rays or now 4K Blu-rays, whatever you buy, that stuff has gone up. A lot of things from the music industry have moved to subscription based because they could not survive going up in pricing when it comes to albums and singles and stuff like that. So when you look at it that way, I understand why people are upset, just because at the end of the day, humans don't like change. They like things to stay the same, especially when it comes to your wallet. You want that stuff to be the same. So I get that. But when you just look at the practicality of all of this games, again, like I said, it's the most profitable entertainment medium. These games are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Just look at your hard drives on your game systems nowadays. They're putting so much time and resources into these games. The game's going up $10 isn't going to affect me too much. I know money doesn't grow on trees for people, but I think this is where gamers need to really stand up and really take a stand for what you will and will not tolerate from these game developers. Don't just buy the latest Call of Duty game because it's popular. Is it a game you're really excited for? Maybe you can't experiment as much. I don't know if $10 can differentiate between someone really being able to experiment with a game or not, but buy the games that you're excited for, wait for reviews to come out, and make more judgments, smarter judgments for yourself in that regard. There was a time maybe 2 years ago, I stopped buying every single major game just because and just to play them. I became way more selective about my purchases, and it's worked. My wallet has I hit myself in the face with the wire. My wallet has paid off. Has been better because of it, and honestly, gaming experiences have become better with it because, again, Platinum King or whatever, because I have more time to put into games that I actually love versus, oh man, I want to buy this game just because it's popular. I want to buy that game just because it's new and it's the new AAA game. So I think it's going to encourage gamers to be smarter, but it's also going to keep the industry that we love performing at an optimum level.
I mean, yeah. Can you imagine if Electronic Arts had been the one to leak this on like Madden?
I think, and I think that plays into it. Like, it was either if EA, 2K, like these companies, they have to be the one to tell us. So they're like, oh, Bethesda, we're not gonna do it. And everyone's like, all right, we'll do it. And so I did definitely a situation like that. And I think, just to speak from an NBA 2K fan, it's frustrating that, of course, they had to roll out the news because, like I talked about on a previous show, though these mofos, to lack of a better term, have stolen so much money from their customer base since 2013. That's when they really incorporated their microtransactions, and they're the king of microtransactions. So the fact, and it's almost to the point where you need them to play the game. So the fact that they are charged, this is going to be industry wide, I get that, but the fact that they are the first ones to show, we need $70. No, bump that. Screw you. You don't need $70. You've taken hundreds from each customer over the last couple of years. But again, when you go back to a lot of these other studios, Elder Scrolls 6, am I paying $70 for that? Hell yeah. Am I paying $70 for Elden Ring? Hell yeah. Am I paying $70 for Kingdom Hearts 4, Persona 6? Hell yeah. $10, a big whoop.
It's also,
you pay $140 for Kingdom Hearts 4.
Exactly.
I would have that. And I would do that for Breath of the Wild too. I know.
For sure. Exactly. But it is worth noting that this is all just conjecture. Like, literally all we have out is one little piece of information from 2K that they are going to charge $70 for 2K. Like, there is no confirmation that this is an next-gen pricing. Like, that is literally it. This is all just speculation because they have rolled out a little business plan. And it is a little confusing because they have all these different versions where, like, if you buy the current gen version, you pay like a premium to upgrade to the other one. So people are wondering if that $70 version is even like an actual thing or if it's just a median price between the two. Like, it's very confusing. 2K is weird. It's interesting to talk about, but it's worth noting this is not confirmed at all yet, because we know that there's plenty of games. Because we know that games are already going to be supporting things like cross-gen. So we know that Cyberpunk and Avengers and there's even Madden, we know that those purchases are going to transfer over to the next gen. So those games are all $60 unless they would for some reason sell 2 SKUs. Why wouldn't you just buy the other one if it supported smart delivery? So again, we don't have all the information.
That said, I do think a price hike is inevitable, whether it's next gen or the gen after. It's going to happen at some point because we've seen price hikes in every single entertainment medium. I mean, when you buy a Blu-ray nowadays, you're usually paying between $25 to $30 for that. We always talk about how it's basically a running gag at this point in society about movie tickets, how much you spend just to see a single movie at the movie theater. Even audiobooks, that's one that a lot of people may not know. Audiobooks are very expensive. They're usually significantly more expensive than the hardcover edition of a novel, and that's why you're seeing subscription services like Audible become so popular.
I think it's necessary. I think it, like, it sounds weird to say that I want to pay more for something, right? Like, why would I want that? But I think as a whole, I would like to see this happen as we move into the generation for the PS5 and the Series X, because it's going to strengthen the industry. I think, like Rashawn said, maybe to an extent, gamers are a little more choosy with what they get on day one. You know, you're not going to get knuckleheads like me a few years ago getting Evolve and the Order 1886 on the same day. My goodness.
Hell no.
Worst day ever. And then on top of it, maybe, just maybe, excuse me, you get more capital for these companies where we hear these horror stories, especially on AAA titles, where people are just run into the ground with these 100+ hour weeks on the, meeting these deadlines, and then games get delayed and you think, oh, it's great, they're going to have more time to work on it. Really, they're just going to have 2 more months of 100-hour weeks. So maybe, just maybe, that will help alleviate some of that and we won't have to worry about it. It may not, but it could be. So I think that's the optimistic side of me where I'm saying, hey, glass half full, this is going to be a good thing for the industry.
Plus, other territories already experience this. Like in Canada, games up there have cost between $80 to $90 for years. Australia is another one. Australia, sometimes you're spending $100 Australian to buy a video game, and that's been like that for a long time.
Our friend John O'Peck, he sat with us on Dadcast. He posted a picture recently. I think it was Metal Gear Solid. I don't remember which one it was. Might have been 4 for like $119. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if it was a collector's edition. Granted, different economies and all, but still.
And also, just to clarify something too for myself, do I want to pay $70 for games? No, I wish games would go back down to $50. I'm just selfish.
That's what I said.
I'm just selfish like that. But I think this is only a story because it's new and it's like, oh my god, games have been $60 for 15 years. I guarantee you can book it. A year from now, we'll forget that this was even a good conversation. Oh, games are $70. Oh, okay, whatever.
I think the large consensus here, if I can speak for everybody, is it's really not a huge deal. We're almost supporting it in some way, shape, or form. Not that we want to pay more money for things, but it's an industry we love so much. We talk about it so passionately. I don't think it's a big deal. Now, if we're talking a $20 hike, I'd still, that's a different conversation.
That's different. Yeah, I would agree.
We don't know.
That's
and as John said, this is all hearsay. This was one thing from one company on one game, and we don't even know if it's really truly a thing yet that it's confirmed. So,
and can I just be honest about one last thing?
Of course.
If I'm being honest, some of these games that are digital and they have the $60 version and the $70 version that has like an extra theme and some little stuff for you when you first boot up the game, I've bought that more than a couple times. So I'm already used to $70 purchases for games. Just saying. Embarrassing.
He just wanted to make sure Baby Yoda was.
If that's just if those are just gonna be standard editions now, then fine. Yeah, I'll take it. Whatever. Make games better. Make them cooler. Whatever.
Oh, Rashawn, you were a gem. That was hysterical. All right. $70 games. Tell us what you think. Facebook.com/the Geekiverse and Twitter. We're at _Geekiverse. So moving on to Ubisoft, we had a new Ubisoft Forward in the last week here. We kind of knew some stuff was happening beforehand. We had our classic traditional leaks that we get, but a relative E3 style conference that they did. They announced they're going to do another Ubisoft Forward later in the year, which is kind of nice. So maybe we'll get some more game announcements and more updates on games that were notably left out of this show. But a few things worth noting here. First off, I'm going to start with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We got a release date. So it's going to be November 17th. This game is not one I would have been excited for without how much I enjoyed Odyssey. I'll say that. But in everything I've seen from this one so far, between this and the little bit that we saw during Microsoft a few weeks back, this game I'm considering getting day one. Thanks to John, I locked it in at a nice pre-order price. And for the Xbox, I think it's guaranteed, or like you buy Xbox One, you get Xbox Series X. I don't know if it's the same way for PlayStation or not.
We have very little information on that for PlayStation. A handful of titles like I think Avengers and Cyberpunk might be the only two that have confirmed that.
I think so as
we
well.
We have no official policy from them like Xbox has their smart delivery policy.
So, John, are you excited for Assassin's Creed here?
I am, yeah. I don't know if it's going to be a day one purchase for me. I guess it depends on what else is going on. Like as much as I liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like I actually love that game. I didn't even finish it because like that's just, I don't know. Open world games have to they have to really, really hook me in, and they have to hook me in the entire time. I just get bored with them very easily. A little worried about Ghost of Tsushima for that reason, but I'm sure that one I'll finish that one. But yeah, we'll see. I'm going to wait for some reviews. I'm going to wait to see a little more about it. But again, I liked Odyssey a lot, and the theme of this one's cool. The whole Viking thing, the visual style looks cool. So probably.
I mean, that is a busy week. The 19th, 2 days later, is Cyberpunk.
Oh, yeah,
so I think that's going to be a deterrent for a lot of people. I'm going to be close to a game time decision on that because I'm definitely getting Cyberpunk, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything to really get in the way of it, so we'll see.
No way.
But I'm excited for it still. Watchdogs Legion, so originally had a release date, I believe in March, earlier this year, was delayed and is now coming out October 29th. So the third game in the Watchdogs franchise, which will be here really just a few months away. We've been talking about how time has been flying. I don't know if I'm really excited for this game. The first two were okay. A lot of people really, really loved 2. A lot of people did not care about 1. Rashawn, does this have you excited at all? Did you play either of the first 2 games?
So when I first saw the reveal trailer, like all of us for the first one, I was blown away. It was incredible. There's no but coming because I did like the first one. You guys were waiting for a but, weren't you? No, I did like the first one. But
There it is.
but.
You liar.
I'm always waiting for the butt.
There's not a but for Watch Dogs 1. Watch Dogs 2, they lost me, man. There was something about it that it.
Okay, time out.
Okay, go ahead.
No, hold your thought. I can't believe that you're saying this. You're the only other person that I've ever met who feels the same way as me.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's the flip. They didn't like the first one, but they liked the second one.
Yeah, that's me.
Most
yeah,
people,
that's me for sure.
Vast majority. John and I have talked about it for sure. I don't know what it was that I enjoyed the first one a lot more than the second. And I don't know, because like in theory, I should have really enjoyed 2, but you put it perfectly. Like it lost you. That's what it did to me for some reason.
And then the third one, it seems like they're just going, a little more zanier and crazier, which is fine. Again, I'm not saying I am not going to sit here and say Watch Dogs is a bad game. It's just something for me. It stopped clicking with the second one. So this third one seems more of the same with 2. Just you can do a lot more with a lot of different characters, which that seems actually pretty cool. How you can just kind of take control of anybody, that's kind of crazy, and then you can still do all this crazy stuff. So that all those premises are cool, but I think I'm like 90% sure this is going to be a skip. This was their chance to really get somebody like me that was on the fence. Actually, no, I wasn't on the fence. I kind of knew I wasn't going to get, but this was their chance to take someone like me into not going to get it, to either on the fence or to hey, maybe I will look into it, but they pretty much just made me stick at probably a non-purchase for myself, especially when you factor in the other stuff that's going to be going on around that time. Like, I don't like what you guys talked about with Assassin's Creed. It's so close to Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, if it wasn't for Final Fantasy VII Remake, would have been my most anticipated game of the year. But I would buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla before I bought this. So.
Yeah, same. I think I'm with you, Rashawn. Like the direction of the franchise, it's not where I was hoping it would go. Like it feels like 2 was just the precursor. And maybe that's why I liked 1 better, is even though, it wasn't, Aiden was not a particularly popular or enthusiastic protagonist, but I enjoyed the self-contained story. Like it was focused a little bit, even though it was a pretty big open world, relatively speaking. Whereas 2 was kind of generic with its cast of characters, and 3 just looks really generic. Like, I don't know, it just looks like there's not really much going on in the way of story to me. That could just be what I'm reading into it.
The mixture of the not a lot of story mixed with not a main character at the end of the day to follow, for me, I think is losing me a little bit, because I think this is a franchise that I wanted better storytelling from. I know not every game can have some riveting narrative, but I wanted a little more storytelling from this series.
Same.
And the fact that that's not in there, I think, is part of the reason why I lost me. And with 2, I finished it. I know a lot of people, like, they don't like games and then they don't finish it. I finished 2. I gave it a chance. It's just by the end of it, I just felt, if they make a third one, I instantly remember thinking, like, if they make a third one, I think I'm done.
Yeah, that's like I said, Rashawn, you're the first person I've talked to about this that felt that same way as I did for it. The other big one, so this one obviously leaked just a few days prior to the show. I believe it's coming in February 2021, but Far Cry 6.
February 18th.
February 18th. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this looks pretty good, and I have traditionally not been a huge Far Cry fan. I played very, very little of 3. I actually played 4 all the way through. It's got some good mechanics to it, but it's just not usually my cup of tea, for what it's worth. John, I think you mentioned in one of our chats that you were a fan of Far Cry 3.
Yeah, Far Cry 3 is one of like my favorite games of last gen. Far Cry 3 is like,
I did not know that.
yeah, Far Cry 3 is like borderline masterpiece in my eyes. I love that game. I love the setting. I love the open world. Like I thought it was just so unique. There's like that cool spiritual element to it. The antagonist, what's his name? Voss was so cool.
Voss,
yeah, it was one of my favorite video game villains ever. I love that game. And I fell off the series for sure. 4 didn't get me. I bought it and I was just like, I don't really care for the setting. It's kind of just 3 reskinned and I don't care about the villain as much. And I didn't even buy 5 because I was kind of just not really into that Midwest culty, thing they were going on. So, and I haven't played any of the other spinoffs either, like Far Cry Primal or whatever. There was like a new co-op one that came out as well after 5. So the last one I really played is 4, and the last one that I actually like enjoyed a lot and even completed was 3, and this has me back in just based on the trailer alone. Giancarlo Esposito looks awesome, man. Like he's such a good actor. I love when they land talent like this in games and it's done well. Like when this game leaked, they tweeted out what's his name in the game. I forget what his name is, but they said he would not be happy, and Giancarlo Esposito retweeted. He goes, "I am not happy." Like just to see that level of involvement, and when these like big actors get really into this stuff is cool for me. And again, I'm just a huge fan of his. And there's some, I don't know if there are rumors, leaks, whatever, conjecture that this is kind of a prequel to Far Cry 3, just based on the fact that his son has the same scar as Voss. The only thing that's kind of thrown that theory off is the fact that like in this trailer they have really thin smartphones. So like it seems to be, and there is a byline. No, there is a byline in the description of the game that says like set in modern day. So maybe somehow Far Cry 3 was set in the future. We just didn't know about it. If that's the case, or maybe everyone's looking too far into that scar and it has nothing to do with that character. But excited to see for sure.
Yeah, I love everything they've done in terms of promotion in the early going for this. And with Esposito, that is a big deal. That's exciting to see. Someone you would maybe never anticipate seeing in a video game. Like we've had so many Hollywood big name celebrities in video games in the last few years, especially. And it's super exciting to see. Not that we ever needed the validation, but at the end of the day, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see them over here. And it can even make you want to play a game, whereas maybe you were on the fence about it or didn't have an interest in that game prior. Like I love the fact that Keanu Reeves is in Cyberpunk, which is a game that I really wanted to play anyway, but that he is going to be a secondary or a side character is just mind blowing to me. That reveal at E3 is one of my favorite moments in E3 anything. So I think it's really nice to see him in that. Pavlok.
Go
ahead, Roshan.
Were you gonna go to Jeff for Far Cry, or was this another topic?
I was jumping somewhere else. So
okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll just bounce off what John said about Far Cry. Like for me, Far Cry 3, that was my first Far Cry game. I didn't play anything prior. And that genuinely surprised me, man. Far Cry 3, that came out 2012, if I'm not mistaken. That was my game of the year that year, actually.
Saying a lot. It was a good year.
Yeah, following a year of like 2011, which was still a historic year for me. You had like Batman Arkham City, you had Skyrim, you had Dark Souls. So I'm like, all right, like what's 2012 gonna have to follow that up? And Far Cry 3 is, I agree with John, it's near masterpiece for me. Far Cry 4, I liked it. The issue with Far Cry 4 is that, and the reason why people don't think about it, it is way too similar to 3. The setting is too similar, even the gameplay, but mainly the setting. 2 island-y type of settings, like just that right there, just the main setting and the gameplay, they made it way too similar to 3 to where 4, it lost people because of that, I think. It's like, oh, it's just more of the same. Let's go back and play Far Cry 3. And again, when you factor in the villain wasn't even as good, it's like, oh, well, okay, like this game's kind of in the corner. Then they came out Far Cry Primal. I didn't play that. I knew what that was about. That was a cash grab. I knew not to fall for that. Far Cry 5, for me, that year, I think that was 2018, I want to say. That year, I think that was my most anticipated game of the year. I think I'm getting, I think it's 2018, but there might be some other games I'm not thinking of. If it wasn't my most anticipated, it was top 2 or top 3. I got it. I have it. I played it for 2 hours. I haven't touched it since. It's not a fault on the game, because I know you guys said the setting didn't interest you. The setting is what is what drew me in. Like these settings with Far Cry, they normally draw me in. That is what drew me into it. I personally didn't give it a fair shake, if I'm just being honest. So that is definitely something, especially after seeing this, like it kind of makes me want to get back in that Far Cry group. So I think I might go back and play that Far Cry 5 at some point. But yeah, this, when we talk about a setting, when we talk about, something with a narrative, Far Cry 6, based on that little trailer, again, we got to see gameplay and all that other stuff. It checked all the boxes from what I want from a reveal trailer. Again, not anything special, not a gameplay reveal, not a deep dive or anything. This is what I want from games for reveal trailers. Give me an idea of your world. Give me some kind of weird cinematic thing that's, mysterious, but also cool. It has a rich storytelling element, and you got me. So I'm excited.
Jeff, any comments on either Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, or Far Cry 6 before we move on?
I have not played Far Cry since Far Cry 2, unfortunately, so don't have too much for that one.
He played it, bro. He's on the one on the panel that played before 3.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I remember Sam Carver from the first one. That was a landmark game back in the day when it first came out on PC.
Yeah,
now you're going back a ways.
Plus, I miss or not should I say I miss because I haven't played any of the new ones, but I like that first one because it had like these kind of like mutant enemies that you fought at one point. There was like a sci-fi element to the game. I heard
about that. They were like more sci-fi.
Yeah, and then the character you played as gained those same superpowers or kind of like inhuman abilities. And then once Far Cry 2 came out, the series pretty much solidified itself as like grounded in reality. A realistic first-person shooter, and it's been like that ever since for the most part.
Last bit of news here for this episode of Geeks Got Game. Next week is another look for Microsoft at the Xbox Series X. On July 23rd, we're going to be seeing some insight into what the first-party studios at Microsoft have been working on. So finally, this is a very, very important conference for Microsoft. It's a lot is hinging on this, especially after the success of what we saw just a few weeks prior with the PlayStation 5 reveal and how well everything has gone over there. With Microsoft here, we are going to see a little bit of Halo. It sounds like we're just going to be diving into the single player aspect, whether that's the story or the campaign. And multiplayer, it sounds like, has been hinted at that we will see more of what that's going to be, in the next few months here. But overall, like, this is a really important conference to set the tone for what Series X is going to look like, especially after they mispromoted the first look just a few months back. John, what does Microsoft have to do to really get the hype train back up to even be in competition with the PS5 right now?
Just games, man. Just gotta nail it with the games. Give me games. I need some cool third-party partnerships. I want to see what your studios have been working on. Show me what that new initiative studio is working on. They just have to come guns a-blazing with the games, man. That's really all there is to it.
Same question to you, Pavlok.
I think I gotta agree with John. They just gotta bombard us with games, and it's unfortunately I think they have a very, very tough uphill battle ahead of them because that PlayStation 5 presentation was phenomenal. They had so many heavy hitters in there that right now all the hype is around PlayStation 5. All of the interest is around PlayStation 5. Microsoft have to do a little bit more than hit a home run. They have to hit a grand slam, I think, if they want to make an impact with this presentation.
To circle back, I don't think Microsoft is playing the same game as Sony right now. I don't think Microsoft is here to necessarily sell people an Xbox Series X. They are here to just remind people that Xbox can have good games again. Because I am not going to buy an Xbox Series X at launch. I have an Xbox One right now, and I'm going to be able to play all of the exclusives that they talk about day one. They've already said that for at least the first year, all of that stuff is going to be cross-compatible, cross-gen. Not to mention, it's all going to be available on PC. It's going to be on Game Pass, so you pay $15 a month and you get it all. They don't have to sell boxes like PlayStation does. They're not making that generational jump in terms of ecosystem. They just need to remind people that there's a reason to spend $60 for a Microsoft Studios product again. That's really what they're here to do. Obviously, there's going to be there's tons of people, there's millions of people who didn't buy an Xbox One. We know the numbers, so Sure, there's still going to be people out there that they can impress enough to buy an Xbox Series X for their next Xbox, but there's also millions of people like myself who have an Xbox One who just want to buy more Xbox games. I haven't bought an Xbox game in forever. So they kind of have they're playing two different games. They're playing catch up. They still want to sell games to people who have their Xbox Ones, and they can still move some hardware, I guess, with the people who haven't touched an Xbox since the 360. But it's going to be interesting for sure.
It's a bold strategy, no doubt about it. We'll see where it goes. I think it's really important that we get a really, really good look at Halo. I think that is, like you said, what is the initiative doing? What can you promise, even in just the first maybe 2 years of the system there when it comes to first party stuff? Because we know what's coming for Sony. We know a lot of it's not coming at launch. We know it's coming in the months following and the year or two after. So give us something similar. Even anything close to similar would be a victory, I think, that they can get back in the conversation. Rashawn, do you think we get any sort of price point on Xbox Series X, or do you think we're still too far out?
What I would like is to say, heck yeah, we have to get pricing. It's July. What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is apparently we are still not getting price point. And it is very obvious the reason why. But if you don't know, I will enlighten you on the business reason on why we have not gotten a price. It is very clear. Sony and Microsoft are trying to one-up each other. By any means necessary, Phil Spencer and crew, whoever's in charge of marketing or pricing, whatever, they do not want to get one-upped again 2 straight generations. They do not want Sony to get that leg up to where Microsoft announces a price and Sony can low cut by $50 to $100 and then potentially sell more units based on that alone. Both companies are stalling until one company bites. Now, they might end up being the same price at some point, are at launch, but they are trying their hardest to hold out. Now, I think from a business standpoint, I think they would be foolish not to show off the price for a basic reason. It's mid-July, or by that time, we're at basically late July. Your console, Microsoft system generally launch in November. So you have to, I know this is going to sound kind of silly, but we're in the middle still of a pandemic mostly. People are just now going back to work. Some people are still not back at work. People are unemployment. You have to give people time to save up for this system if you want to sell people on it. You can't announce the price. I say you can't, and they might. You can't wait until early September. Oh, yeah, $500, $550. I get that they have Lockhart, and that's going to be a very inexpensive option to where gamers can really get in there and get on that. I get that, but I just think from a business standpoint, I get they don't want to get one-upped, but I also think it's foolish not to announce the price of this system. Like, this is the longest we've ever went without a price for a major console like this. We've generally got that at E3, like May, June time. And like John said, I like the way they're going. I like that Phil Spencer said in an article recently that, hey, the Series X is like your high-end gaming PC. You have your Xbox One X, that's like your mid-range gaming PC. Mm-hmm. You have your OG Xbox One, that's like your low-end gaming PC. So I like everything they're doing, and it's all cute. But at the end of the day, for this conference, give me price, give me 2, whether it's from and I don't care who it's from, just make sure it's exclusive. Give me 2 AAA exclusives to be excited about. That's not Halo, Gears, or Forza. If you do that, I think the console will be a success. You give us a price, you give us 2 brand new AAA exclusives from whatever studio. It doesn't matter. I don't care who it's from, but that look good, give us reveal trailers on the level of that Far Cry 6 trailer we just got. I think they're good. If there's no new exclusives, if there's no price, why am I here? Halo, okay. I'll at that point, most people just watch it. Just the Halo snippet. Why watch an hour and a half or whatever? But yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think the 2 exclusives, it's going to be good outside of those 3 main ones with Forza, Gears, and Halo. I think they do have to show off that. I would not be surprised if we don't get a price at this point. And I think, both companies are playing chicken to see who's going first. I do think the pandemic plays a factor in that. I don't think it's 100% that Sony and Microsoft are waiting for the other chip to fall. I think distribution is a big deal. So they're playing, hey, what's this price going to look like? Because supply is going to be an issue for, I would say, both companies, at least in the first year or two. So that's something that they have to weigh in and say, do we lessen the price or do we raise the price, knowing that less people are going to get their hands on it? That is something to be said for that when it comes to business. Now, the last thing I have to say on it for Microsoft, with all these first-party studios, and it's so impressive what they've done. Phil Spencer has done an amazing job from a PR standpoint in the last 2 or 3 years on building out Xbox studios. These games, even if they announce them and they look good, they're not gonna build up that cachet or that street credit that PlayStation has until these games come out and are a success from a review standpoint. Because they've got to be good, and it takes years to make these games, and they only started acquiring some of these studios a few years ago. So games that they were funding that were already in development, some of them are not going to be exclusive. They're just going to basically be published by Microsoft or Xbox Studios. So I think it's going to be a few years still, even maybe 2 or 3 years before we see the fruit of what they've been doing in purchasing all these studios, even at this point in the game. So only time will tell on that.
To that point, I'm setting the bar low, and I normally say that Microsoft, you got to show us gameplay, because I hate how they want to pretend like this is like movie trailer season. They don't want to give us gameplay for anything. I think if you guys remember when Sony first showed the reveal trailer for Order 1886 and how amazing that looked, there was no gameplay behind that, but it got people talking. Microsoft needs software from a game standpoint that's going to get people talking, even if they don't show gameplay. If they show something as cinematic and as cool as that Far Cry 6 trailer, we're just going to be talking like, oh, what's that new thing Microsoft's got? What's that new game Microsoft's got? Yeah, we got Halo. Maybe we got, Fable coming back. We got this Forza game. But what's that new IP that Microsoft's got coming out next fall? What is that? That's going to keep people talking, and that's going to keep, I don't want to say keep the brand relevant, because the brand is, I'm not saying Xbox is dead. It's obviously relevant, but it's going to give people that reason to put that dollar down. Yes, Halo, we've had all that stuff before, but it's going to give people that extra incentive in the back of their mind, knowing that, ooh, that's coming. That's down the road. That's something new. That's something cool. So that's the only last thing I'll say to your point on that. It doesn't have to necessarily, we don't have to see the game for maybe 1.5 to 2 years, but if they just show people something that looks gritty, something that looks fun, whatever, a new survival horror game, I don't know, I don't care what it is, make it look good, and that's going to keep people talking for the next year and a half, or whatever, up until obviously the system comes out and beyond. Yeah,
they need to give people a reason to invest in it, even if it's for a few years down the line. Hopefully they do. I've always got faith in Phil Spencer. I know they've fallen short a few times here, but is kind of a little bit of an Xbox fanboy. But I'm really, really hoping they kill it. The one thing they really do need to continue to emphasize and market is that Xbox Game Pass, especially with all these first-party studios. Imagine, they show off some of what you're talking about, Rashawn, some impressive stuff. Maybe it's a Fable. Maybe it's a brand new IP that blows people's minds.
And it's all on Game Pass. They win. They arguably win. That's it.
You're going to play it day one, and you're going to play it for free, essentially. You're paying for the pass, but you're not going to pay $60 or $70 at launch. That's a lot. It's especially for gamers on a budget. So that is something that they've built up nicely, and they need to use that to their advantage, because Sony doesn't have it right now, and where Sony has other strengths, that is one shortcoming. So if Microsoft can find a way to exploit that, that's something that I'm going to be looking for when we see this next week. We're going to wrap up this episode of Geeks Got Game here. We typically do this bi-weekly. Our schedule's been off a little bit in the last few weeks just because of some vacations here and there for a few of us. That being said, we are planning to record next week because of the Microsoft press conference that's going to be going on. So we want to get in on that, and we want to be here to react, much like we did to the Sony one from a month ago or a few weeks back. So stay tuned for that. Everybody give up just a quick summary where they can find you on social media and what's going on for you at the Geekiverse. We'll start with John.
You can find me on all socials at Disruptoid for the Geekiverse. Keep tuning in to the MCU Reviewed because we are having so much fun with that show. Just like this show, we did miss a week because of a couple of vacations and scheduling issues, which is actually really impressive that we've gone so many films. I think we're on like 8 or 9 weeks in here or something like that, and we haven't missed a week yet. So I'm happy that we've only missed one so far. So we'll get that caught up shortly, but that's been a lot of fun. I think our next episode is Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Got to record and put that one up. So we're getting into some good stuff now. I'm really excited for that.
One of my favorites. Hooked on a Feeling. Mr. Jeff Pavlak.
You can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey Pavs and on Instagram, Jeff Pavlak. Talking about Ocarina of Time earlier on this episode jogged my memory of a really fun piece I did about 2 years ago now with fellow Geekiverse member Sammy B. We each named our top 5 moments from Ocarina of Time. We did that to celebrate the game's 20th anniversary back in November of 2018. Wow, sorry, I had to think about that for a second. The game's 22 years old now. That one still blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Rashawn, where can people catch up with you?
Yep, so you can catch me bi-weekly, even though we're going to do back-to-back episodes weekly of Geeks Got Game here next week for the Xbox Showcase. MCU Reviewed with John and Josiah. You can also... I keep plugging the Disney Plus thing, but we haven't done that in a while just because there hasn't been a lot of stuff to talk about necessarily. Even though Hamilton just came out. Well, yeah, we'll get back into that, but that's normally monthly. Other than that, Twitter and Twitch, you can find me at True King Zero. If you're a gamer, come tune into some Twitch streams. I will be streaming Ghost of Tsushima on launch day, launch weekend, pretty much. I'll be streaming that. I'll also probably be doing some Paper Mario as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm like 70% sure I am. So I'll be doing my best to rotate and yeah, come chat and hang out.
Good stuff all around. I am at Josiah D. Leroy. You can find me on all social media with that handle. Lots going on in the world of the Geekiverse as always, but right now video games are going to be occupying my time. So you're going to be talking a lot about me finally finishing The Last of Us Part 2, as well as how much hopefully I am enjoying Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. I want to interrupt Josiah's segment, but
you did.
We are doing well, sorry. This is important. We are doing a Last of Us 2 review. We are doing one.
A spoiler cast?
Listen, I know. I know I said straight up before launch I was going to be the one to hold us up. So, as long as you guys are game to do so, I have no problem doing that. I'd love to finish Last of Us before Friday, but you know how my gaming habits are. So I don't know if it's going to happen. I'll do my best.
We're going to get one out.
We are missing our deadline of before Ghost of Tsushima. So
we definitely are.
It's okay.
That, yeah.
It's okay though. We like to talk about games. So for John, for Jeff, for Rashawn, I'm Josiah. We appreciate you tuning in on YouTube and on the sound.
Did he
Are you kidding
drop
me?
out? Should I just end it? I'm not even gonna let him come back.
I'll end it. So
I'm not even
thank you
letting
for joining us here
He's
on
coming
YouTube.
back.
For those that are listening on audio, thank you for being here.
Come on!
Catch you guys in the next one.
You needed like 2 seconds, man. All you had to do was survive 2 seconds.
Rashawn, if you didn't interrupt me, I would have made the whole episode.
Oh my god.
That's true.
That is very true.
That is true.
Oh.
It's all Rashawn's fault.
The Platinum Clipper is what I'm going to call him. All right. We'll do this again. For John, for Jeff, for Rashawn, I'm Josiah. We'll see you later.